Hey guys, Omni here. Just finished watching tonight's episode of Batwoman. You know, this is the last episode before the season finale, and I can't remember. I know it's been talked about in the comments before. I just cannot remember at this point in time. I don't know if Batwoman actually got to film their actual intended finale. So I don't know if next week's episode was the finale they intended, or if, like The Flash, they just had to cut the season short because they weren't able to film the episodes that they intended to make and be the finale because of everything going on in the world. I know Flash is closing off 3 episodes short because they didn't get to film the last 3 episodes, but those storylines from those episodes are just going to be pushed into next season. And I don't know if that's the case with Batwoman. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out next week in that episode. So if you haven't seen tonight's episode, be sure to tune out because I'm going to be talking about some spoilers for this episode. You know, we had some setups last episode with Julia and everything, and already she's been getting her mix into some complicated situations, getting herself entangled in this weird relationship with Sophie, on top of still being flirty and flirtatious with Kate. And we all know that there's still unresolved feelings between Kate and Sophie that are still in play here as well. So not on top of those complications, we had to add that she's also got her own agenda working for a third party also after this journal. We do learn who that is in this episode, but we'll get to that here in a minute. So the primary storyline of this episode is, you know, we didn't know what happened to Thomas Elliot at the end of last episode, but he apparently, because the episode opens with him just going into this university library and just gunning a bunch of fools, bunch of students too, to get to a professor and kidnap him. He takes him back to Arkham to try to force him to help him, Alice, and Mouse decipher Lucius Fox's journal, because we saw last episode that it had been completely written in some type of cipher or code or whatever, and they could not figure it out. So their thought process is to get people who specialize in languages or code breakers, and they're just cycling through people, you know, sending out Hush, who is now being called Hush by the people because when he goes in the library, you know, he puts the gun up to this dude's head and he's just like, Hush. And yeah. So that's how he gets his name. And I gotta say, more so than last episode when they had put those bandages on his face freshly, they look awfully crusty in this episode now that it's actually legitimately part of his costume. He's got the jacket, he's got the guns, and it's looking a little stiff. It's like they put some plaster in that in those bandages. So he's a little, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really feeling the bandage look anymore. But he's still living up to it a little bit. I do like the look in general with the coat and everything, but I just wish the bandages looked a little less like they were made of rock or plastic. That doesn't look too good. But they're all trying to work together to figure things out. And Alice wants to just be like, well, you know, why don't we just get Luke Fox? He could probably figure out the cipher. I mean, it was his dad. But Mouse is really against that because he doesn't want to lure Batwoman out and show their hand any further, because he doesn't want to invite any trouble to their current situation in Arkham, because he's really enjoying it. He's actually happy that they have a place where they are safe, they can shower, they have three warm meals a day, and they run everything there. And it's like, if they, you know, don't play it too safe and Batwoman gets onto what they're doing, all of that can be wiped away. Alice, though, really doesn't care. So she gives them a couple more chances, gives Hush a couple more chances to go find somebody to break these codes without trying to bait out Luke. We actually throw a call back to Parker Torres from that one episode where Kate had to reveal herself and her sexuality to the world, as well as reveal her identity to that kid from high school to kind of connect with her as well. Becomes a target as well, because Alice knew about her and her skills, and after 2 failures with 2 different professors, they decide to target her, see if maybe she's able to crack it. And they're able to kind of get looped in on it. Alice and them, or not Alice, Kate and everybody starts to track in on that. And at the opening of this episode, because Kate approaches Luke about her suspicions of Julia, he gets really irritated, and he's not having it. Because he grew up with Julia, he knows her, he doesn't want to think that she's doing anything shady, because Kate's stumbled upon some evidence that shows otherwise. And he's just not having it. He's like, you're not accusing my friend of this stuff. I'm not having this and whatever. This is what we're doing. You're not focusing on the real problem. You're the one that let Regan run away with the journal. So she goes off because, Kate got that information about Julia because she actually went and she found Regan and interrogated her. And that's where she found out, is like, your blonde friend really kind of did some shady shit. And they started looking into it. So it's weird. It comes about in an interesting way. We'll get to it. I'm sorry, I'm getting out of hand here. But anyway, because they're now aware of what's going on and that they're able to piece together, where Hush is hitting, who the types of people that he's tackling and going after, they're able to get kind of a pattern of what they're doing. And they hear about Parker getting kidnapped, and she's able to track it down, find the van where Hush is trying to drive off with Parker, and she's able to stop him and save Parker, but Hush gets away. And so to keep her safe, she brings her back to the Batcave. I mean, she already knows her identity. She already knows Kate Kane's Batwoman, but, Mary doesn't know that. So when she comes in, she appears in the Batcave. She's like, who the hell is this kid? Why does she know your identity? Am I seriously the last person on this freaking planet that knows who you were? I thought that was really funny. But because Luke is not with the group, they really end up putting a little bit of weight on her to actually work the computers and do some of the tracking and hacking for them, because Luke is still elsewhere. He starts digging up his own evidence on Julia and confronts her himself at the Crow headquarters. And of course, she starts to reveal a couple of pieces of information to him. You don't have the full story or whatever. And while he's there, after failing to get these professors to do this, after failing to get Parker to translate this journal, they finally cave and they send Hush to retrieve Julia and Luke. So Julia's getting hooked up to an electrocution machine while Luke is pressured to cipher this thing. And while she's being shorted, she's the incentive, she's the motivation for him to just focus and do this. And it comes down to it that he's able to finally figure out the cipher, because it's the way it's coded is tied into like his social security number, because his father made it something related to him. And he finds out what's in there, and he's like, I can't tell him. My father was ready to die for this, so we got to be too. And Kate finds out about both of them being kidnapped, so she's trying to track them down. She's able to piece together that, of course, it was Alice. In the meantime, while Parker and Mary are fumbling around with the computers, Mary's sifting through some of Luke's collection of some of Lucius's old stuff and finds these glasses that conveniently exist that automatically translate Lucius Fox's code. So in retrospect of that, or in light of that information, Kate takes these glasses and goes to barter with Alice for their lives. She gives them the glasses so that they would let Luke and Julia go. And Luke really was not going to give up the information. He's like, oh, I don't know, what are you doing? The secret is how to kill Batwoman. I thought for a minute it was like, well, I mean, we already know Bruce Wayne's Batman. Everybody already knows Bruce Wayne's Batman at this point. So I thought maybe it was going to be something along with that, but it's just, the book is just how to kill anybody using the Wayne Tech suits, it seems like, because they say it's how to kill Batwoman, but it wouldn't have been written in that way. So it's got to be, like we said before, a way to recreate the weapon that was basically disabled earlier in the season that Alice had her hands on. But she wants it now. So with the way that Kate's betrayed her, seems like she's full on board to kill Kate now. But I don't know. It's getting really all over the place with this journal, with these motivations, and I don't know. When Kate is starting to leave, it's like she gets caught by security at Arkham, which alerts everybody else. And in that situation, Alice is kind of like, well, our jig is up. And she releases all of the inmates against every advisement by Mouse in this situation, who does not want to give up this place. And she takes his mask off, just pulls it off and throws it into the fire. And they escape. They escape Arkham. I'm jumping around a lot in this episode because honestly, when it comes down to it, there's not a lot to it. as far as these little bits and everywhere. Um, but yeah, Alice and Mouse broke out of Arkham. They are living in the sewers. They have the glasses to translate the book. And Thomas Elliot is somewhere at the end of this. It's not very clear where he ended up. And we learn that Julia is working for someone named Sophia Sahal. And I looked this up because it's not a name that instantly clicked with me at all. Apparently, this is another ex of Kate's, from the comic at least. This is her pirate ex, who was in 14 issues of the comics. So what is with her and her exes? Gosh, come on, Kate, get it together. Date some horrible people, please. Sophie was the closest. Then Julia's just like super spy, double agent, triple agent, crazy stuff. And then you have Reagan, who's just like, oh, well, my sister's a super thief and I work with her. Great choices in women. Good job. A+. At the end of the day, when everything reconvenes at the end, when everybody is back at Wayne Tower, I really like the moment between Kate and Luke because those two have the best dynamic in this show as far as, character chemistry, I think. And they have a moment where he's like, why did you do that? He reconciles because he was like, you were right about Julia. She was kind of working against us, plotting her own, doing her own little schemes while we were trying to get this journal together. But he was like, why would you do that? Why would you? Gotham needs you. Gotham needs a Batwoman. Why would you do that? We gave them the means to kill you. And she it was such a sweet moment because she was just like, she forgives him all that. He accepts her and whatnot. And then she's just like, Luke, there's no Batwoman. I couldn't lose you. There's no Batwoman without Luke Fox. And it's true. I mean, she wouldn't be able to do half the stuff without him. On the comms, repairing her stuff, setting up her gear, building some of her gear. He's just as important to being Batwoman. There wouldn't be a Batwoman on the streets, at least working nearly as functional, if he wasn't there to assist. And I like that moment, and they hug it out, and it was good. But we find out at the end of the episode because Alice is reading the rest of this journal, and apparently an ingredient they need is kryptonite. And I'm like, why? Why is a gun that is going to kill Batwoman require kryptonite? I was so confused when I heard that, and I was like, I know you could use it as a power source, but what's that going to, why kryptonite? I'm sure you could have used anything else and it would be fine. Now, if it was a gun to kill Kara, that would be a whole other situation. So I don't know. I thought that was really weird. Yeah, I don't know. This was an okay episode. I mean, I honestly didn't feel all that strongly for this episode. I don't know. This was one of the few episodes where I was just like, I don't know. It's getting a little convoluted. It was getting a little more convoluted than I'm kind of comfortable with at this point. Like I said, with all these parties vying over this book, all these double secret, triple agent super identities between the twist with Reagan, between the twist with Julia, this mystery third party ex-pirate of Kate's. It's just like, can we just calm down a little bit and just focus? Like, I feel like we should have just focused on Thomas Elliot in this and not just thrown all this stuff here around, because it's been very laser focused on Alice and, maybe a B villain of the episode up to this point. But it just seems all over the place. I don't know. And there's just one episode of this season left to go. So I don't know. It's just a little jarring for me. That's my thoughts on it. Yeah. Honestly, there's, aside from that moment with Luke and Kate at the end, there's not a whole lot I actually really enjoyed, except for the opening. I did really like the opening with Hush and then the scene with Luke and Kate at the end of this episode. But I was really meh about the rest of this episode, but that's just me. What did you guys think of this episode? What were your thoughts? What was your feelings on all the reveals in this episode? Some of the sequences. What is your opinion on how Hush looks? How do you think this Pirate X is going to fit into this whole situation? Is she still going to be a pirate? She definitely wants Kate dead. Oh, speaking of, Julia's like, all right, if I had known that the book was about contained secrets to kill Kate, I wouldn't have done it. So some redemption there in some kind of way. I did forget to mention that a little bit, but that's it. I got nothing else for this episode. Let me know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments so we can carry on the conversation after the video. But that's it for tonight, gang. We'll catch you guys next week with the season finale. The finale of season 1 of Batwoman next week. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.